Coaching from a place of presence. Interestingly, we have never done an episode in which we just addressed the very important aspect of coaching well, which is our presence, our use of self, the way we show up, being fully present with our clients. We talk about it all the time, but we've never dedicated an entire conversation just to that. That's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Kim and I are going to have probably less of a teaching, certainly not an interview per se. We don't have 5 key points we're going to run you through, much more like a conversation about presence and being fully present with our clients and the tremendous power that that brings to every coaching session.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation, Chris. I feel like presence is the unsung, under-celebrated power in each and every coaching conversation, almost to the point where I think some of us may try to tweak other coaching skills because they seem more visible. None of that can happen without us being fully and completely present for our clients. And so I'm looking forward to unpacking that today.
Yeah, this really does sit right at the center of the work that we're called to. And of course, all of you listeners, viewers out there, you like us are Christians in your very essence. That is your identity. The old has died and the new is being made every day, right, as we take on more of the transformation of becoming Christ in this world. As we carry that into this profession of coaching, there are certain times when we feel like those two things kind of run at loggerheads. Happy news for us today in regard to presence. That is not the case at all. This is one of those places where really our professional work and what it calls us to in terms of the way we show up and our use of self throughout and our role in this world as light and salt, our being as Christians, they go beautifully together. We need to be fully present in the work that we're doing as coaches and as Christians. Nice to have that.
It really is. So as we have this conversation, perhaps we could just start with that professional side, and we'll certainly bring in the faith side and then pull them all together before we're done. But I did pull up some of the words that the ICF shares in the core competencies about maintaining presence. And so here's what they suggest is foundational to this skill being practiced well. Flexible, responsive, comfortable with not knowing. Okay, I'm just going to put in parentheses. Is any human being on the planet comfortable with not knowing? That's a high bar right there. Okay, back to what they said. Able to use silence, intuition, and curiosity effectively. And so even as I say those out loud, I think, oh, the invitation is so much bigger and broader than I would have suspected. It's not just my physical presence. It's not just even tuning out distractions, making sure my phone is off, my door is closed, no windows on my computer are popping up, that kind of thing. The neuroscience on presence is fascinating as it comes out these days. And first, I am not a neuroscientist, and so my use of the terms are probably loose and street level, but nonetheless, the concepts are very powerful. And one of them is that our nervous systems are always communicating. They say before we even say our first word, even over Zoom, their nervous system is noticing what our nervous system is communicating. And so, on a bad day, on a distracted day, it's not enough for me to pretend to be present with my client or just show up quiet and looking at them. I actually need to be aware that I need to be fully where I am. And so that really is a high bar, and it takes high self-awareness throughout the conversation because the nervous system goes on to pick up on our tone, on the pace of our conversation and how we're using them, on the micro expressions in our face. All of these things are communicating. Is this a safe relational space for deep exploration and growth? Or is this a place where I have to pretend, show up, kind of put on my mask to keep myself safe? And so, yeah, it's a professional standard and it's a really high one.
Man, you're not kidding there. It is a really high one. This is a discipline that we have to practice. And again, that would be as a Christian, our Christian disciplines, and as a coach, practicing those skills, yes, tools, yes, but the discipline of management of self-awareness, and then using self very effectively. We really cannot fake this. I love what you're saying there, Kim, about the way that I don't know if it's just our brains and our neuroscience or if it's our spirit, our soulish self that is picking up. But there is a relational network that's scanning and evaluating what you just addressed there, the safety. Can I really dare to be transparent with you, my coach, but much more importantly, with me, myself? Can I stand to really take that long look in the mirror? Well, I don't know. Is this a place where that's what's being encouraged? Or is this a place where instead I'm being encouraged to, just keep the performance up, kind of do and say the right things, the things you know you should, or the things you really want to, the things that would get you acceptance and approval, but not really be transparently honest with self. The coach's presence fosters and invites that. We know that clients draft off of not just what we're doing, our being. And so if we are distracted or if we are performing, if we're evaluating inside, am I doing this coaching thing well? They will pick up on that and we'll do this really awkward dance back and forth because they're taking their cues from us. We don't want them to do that and put them into performance mode. We want them to take the cue that no, we are very confident, comfortable in being fully present, and to use another kind of word there, contemplative. We're just going to be with them in this moment and be present to whatever needs to be explored, whatever is said. This is a judgment-free zone that we're inviting, we're creating, we're fostering with ourselves.
Yes. And this is where it's not just a professional practice, it's a spiritual practice that as believers in a triune, loving God, we can enter into in our own time, our own space, our own life that helps us show up as these kind of people we want to be. I was thinking about God being the great presence, the great I am. Not I was, even though he was, not I will be, even though he will be. He's always present, and he's always present to me. And as I practice that presence outside of the coaching conversation, in my normal everyday life, in my life with the Lord, I become a person who is comfortable with silence, with introspection, with thinking hard, difficult thoughts, or feeling somewhat afflictive emotions that I'd rather not feel. I learn how to sit in that because I'm sitting in the presence of the beloved in a very conscious way. And so as I practice that, I think I bring that, unspoken as it were, into every conversation with the clients.
Isn't that something that our Lord identifies himself in that reference there to presence? I am. As you said, he was, always has been, will be, always will be eternal, but he is, and he's so present to us. I was thinking about Moses at the burning bush, and the instruction that he got from the Lord was, take off your sandals. The ground you're standing on is holy ground. He was, I think, inviting a disciplined kind of an action there to make Moses more consciously fully aware in his being, as he also, I'm sure, then bowed down low to the ground, to be fully present, because here's God. He's fully present in this space. That's something we can borrow from in the way that we want to ideally show up to every single coaching session, practicing some disciplines that help us before we ever turn on the Zoom screen or pick up the phone or sit down across the table from somebody, that we're practicing disciplines to attune our entire being to the sacredness of this moment that's going to be shared with this client, where even if they're not a Christian, where we're bringing the Holy Spirit, God fully present, to work in and through everything that's about to transpire. Boy, can we foster that. Boy, can we get in the way of that, or simply sabotage it and cause it not to happen at all, because we're not tuned in. We're not disciplined.
Mm. And really, we're not over-spiritualizing this, just in the mystical sense, though it's mystically true, Chris. I was thinking about Jesus and his very human form and his physical use of space and presence in the gospel. The Lord has had me meditating in Luke 24 recently on the road to Emmaus account. And so if it's been a minute since you've read that, we have two disciples walking along the road, and it's after the resurrection. And the women have said, he's not in the tomb, but they're not really sure what's going on. So they are walking along the road and they're talking about all the things amongst themselves and the questions. And so then Jesus comes up and he says, what are you talking about? Now, he has the answers, but he makes it so they don't know who he is. He invites them to share what's on their heart. They're like, what, are you clueless? And he listens as they sort through all the information to the point, as I've been thinking about it, Chris, he holds back enough. They get to the heart level and they said, we had hoped he would be the one. Can you just hear everything wrapped up in that? Here's what we believed in. Here's what we gave our lives to. Here's what we thought was going to happen. And now it all looks like it's gone away. Is there hope? Is there not? We had hoped. And Jesus didn't just say, I'm here. It's all better. He walked with them and talked with them. And as I think about the road to Emmaus, I don't know, for those of you on YouTube, I actually been meditating on it so much. I bought this amazing print from Daniel Bonnell of the road to Emmaus. And I could spend hours just talking about everything it's evoking in me. But one of the things Lord, I want to be that kind of presence to God and to my clients where I'm leaving space. Not for answers to emerge, but for God to do with his presence what he did for those two disciples on the Emmaus Road. And that is a holy calling.
Mm. And that is a really powerful image. And one of the words that really you kept referencing there was awareness. They were not aware of who it was that was with them until the Lord, opened their eyes so that they could suddenly, in the breaking of the bread, see that it was in fact God, always there present with them. And he was the one. But that issue of awareness, I think, taking it back to us as Christian coaches, I pulled a couple of quotes about this very important theme from some of the authors that many of us are very familiar with. Max Lucado said, there is never a non-sacred moment. That's just a thought worth pausing. There is never a non-sacred moment. Every moment in life, just like the road to Emmaus, just like our coaching session we have, they're all potentially sacred moments. We are always on, as it were, holy ground because we're bringing the Lord in the very temple of his being, our being. But Lucado goes on to say, God's presence never diminishes. He's always present. Our awareness of his presence may falter. That importance of attuneness, of practicing disciplines to be aware, to invite, to get out of the way, to foster, all of those concepts. A.W. Tozer wrote something very, very similar, and it's worth quoting here. He says, we cannot attain the presence of God. We're already totally in the presence of God. What's missing is awareness. Same exact theme. It's on us. What are we doing to increase the awareness that God is already fully present here? And hello, with that client of ours, he knows the plans that he has for them, and they are to prosper him and not for calamity. He is out in front of them. He knows all the giftings, all of the calling that he placed upon them. The Spirit wants to be at work. Again, whether the client is a Christian or not, doesn't matter at all. God is fully present. Are we showing up aware of the importance of our full presence, or are we distracted with a million different internal and external things, huh?
Yeah, and I think that's almost the place to start as we think about more practical ways to apply this and what not to do and what to do so that we can be as present as we'd like to be. And so I've been thinking about what are some of the things that get in the way of me being present in the way that we're painting a picture of today. And first and foremost for me is kind of this angst or anxiety. Are they going to get their money's worth? Are they going to think this was brilliant? Are they going to be glad that they showed up today? Are they actually going to move forward on whatever their agenda is? And so if I come with those underlying performance, do you hear that? Performance type of anxiety questions, my mind is lost that relational nervous system space that they're looking for. And I'm thinking about myself and I'm totally distracted. So anxiety, ego, the need to be impressive, and then just a lack of faith, I think, in God and in the process. fearing that something will happen, that I can trust him to have what happens be what he wants to have happen. I don't have to know what it is. I never know what it is. By the time we get to the end of the conversation, I'm like, I didn't see that that's where that would go, but wow, what a precious place he took it. And so for me, distraction starts with, okay, what do I need to let go of and do less of? Reminds me of John the Baptist, right? Less of me and more of him.
Yeah, less of me and more of him. I think let's just stay with this. What are some very practical things that we can do? And why is this so powerful and important in our coaching here? In preparing for today's conversation, one of the many resources that I tapped is, for those of you viewing here on YouTube, this excellent book by David Benner called Presence and Encounter. Presence and Encounter. It's a little tiny read, but chock full of really great insights. And I'm going to pull just a couple of quick quotes from it, one of which is going to seem like an odd place. It's from Sigmund Freud, but he's quoting him in here. And I want you to catch the power of this little vignette from a little child. It says, Sigmund Freud tells the story of a 3-year-old boy crying in a dark room of a home that he was visiting one evening. Auntie, the little boy cried, talk to me. I'm frightened because it's so dark. His aunt answered him from another room, what good would that do? You can't see me. And the boy said, that doesn't matter. When you talk, it gets light. Now, he says the child was not afraid of the dark, but of the absence of someone he loved. What he needed to feel secure was presence. I like that little juxtaposition there. What is presence? Well, it's the opposite of absence. And how often are we present, like still, there, but hello, lights are on, nobody's home, right? We're present, but we're not present. Our presence is the opposite of being absent, being distracted, going on our internal kind of stuff here, critiquing, evaluating, judging, ready to insert our opinions on something. And I'm not sure so much that we would do as the little boy is saying, please talk to me. It's please be with me. Please let me know, convey to me in ways that I will pick up consciously and subconsciously. You're present with me. You're here, because when you are, it becomes light. The ahas happen for the client that we wouldn't have had any idea were in there and needed to be called forth. But they come forth because so much of our use of the skills, yes, but especially of our presence, brings that light. It creates that space for the Lord to reveal, to unveil, to draw out, as that scripture that we so often cite in coaching. And it talks about many of the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has understanding draws them out. The light, the aha, the understanding, the awareness comes because of our presence with them in their questions.
And being so comfortable with questions, and I think also with silence. And I'm curious to hear what you'll have to say to this particular question, Chris, but I was thinking about, so on the positive end, what is it I do or other coaches do to increase our ability to be fully present? And one of the things I've been doing for the past 2 or 3 years, very imperfectly, is making time at the beginning of each day, as part of my devotional routine, for at least 10 minutes of silence. So not praying, not talking, not figuring it out, not listening for a particular word from the Lord, just companioning, almost as it were, in silence with the Lord. And talk about a spiritual practice. Oh, when I first started doing that, monkey brain would just come up and, 1,000 monkeys would chase my thoughts in 1,000 different directions. And that's okay, because that's awareness too. But then learning myself to sit in silence and be just so comfortable with God's presence helps me bring, I think, a more anchored presence into that relationship with my client. How about you?
Absolutely. In fact, as you were saying that, I was thinking, I think it's Psalm 46 that says, be still and know that I'm God. That silence, like you're saying, practicing 10 minutes or so of just silence. And it's a contemplative silence. It's not just, there's nothing in my head going on, but that silence, that stillness How rare a thing is that for any of us to practice, and how critically crucial of a piece is that for us as Christian coaches to practice as we prepare to go and be with our clients in a space that's inviting God. I am God, to know that He's God. We have to slow down and be present to that present moment in stillness and in silence. I'm going to grab another quote here from this excellent book because he's speaking to exactly that theme here. He says, presence thrives in places of emptiness, not fullness. Now, he doesn't mean emptiness like some Buddhist notion of just emptying ourselves totally. God's, much more filling up when we get out the distractions instead. So that's the kind of emptiness he's talking about, getting rid of all the other distractions. Presence thrives in places of emptiness, not fullness. Most of the time, we are too full to be truly present, too full of our opinions, our preconceptions, right? Our biases, right? Our beliefs, our thoughts, too full of ourselves. We're trying to be there for our client, but we're coming too full of ourself. It's so hard to get self out of the way. One of the reasons to be silent and to allow God to be more fully present. It says, presence requires not only an open mind, but an open self. And just a little bit more here, he says, we cannot be present to anyone or anything in judgment. Offering presence requires at least a temporary suspension. That doesn't mean we shouldn't ever judge, right from wrong, good from evil, but offering presence requires at least a temporary suspension of our normal modes of evaluating, judging, classifying. In fact, it requires a temporary suspension of critical thought. Critical thought. This is why presence has such a relaxed quality to it. It's not a posture of indifference, but acceptance means that we receive the present moment in all its presence to us and engage it as it is. We always say in coaching, right? You got to meet them where they are. Mm-hmm. That's where we start. The moment takes priority, and it's received with hospitality. It's received with a release of agendas and openness to possibility. That's where coaching thrives, right?
It's a beautiful picture. An interesting twist on that. What came up for me as you were talking is not only is silence naturally, culturally uncomfortable for us, it is also naturally, culturally uncomfortable for our clients. And sometimes it's tempting to join them in their journey of distracting themselves. For example, a client comes up and some difficult part of a problem or part of self that they don't really want to look at closely comes up. So they kind of say, yeah, but back to the point. But as I was saying about work, and they're trying to draw themselves out of that hard but really holy and needed moment. And so I think part of what I like to do as a coach is to help them be present to their own presence. Before you rush on, stay with that thought. Sit with that. Say more about that. What's going on with that? Because they can distract themselves as aptly as we can distract ourselves from our own hard work. And so I think not only are we present to them, but we're offering the gift and the skill, it's a coaching skill, of helping them be present to themselves and what's going on inside. And that is a conversation. I've literally had clients say this to me, that they've never been able to have anywhere with anyone else, because it really is a skill of coaching as well as, an art and a spiritual practice.
That's so good. Yes, the stopping and the affirming the value of just being with whatever was just said. Don't judge it. Don't throw it away. Don't think it was stupid or whatever else. And don't dismiss it and move on to the next thing. Let's just be with that for a moment. I'm thinking here of, I believe it's the book of James, be quick to listen, slow to speak. And we're kind of helping our client learn that. Hey, just listen. Did you hear what you said there? Did you hear the energy in that? That sounds like there might be something important there. Do you want to probe that a little bit more? We're helping them to, be quick to listen and slow to speak. And we're really practicing discipline of self to be slow to speak, right? Just quick to listen and to hear and to push the pause button and to probe a little bit more deeply. let's be present with what just came out there. Is there something more that could be plumbed?
Mm. And all of this, I think, is just we're trying to articulate the power of presence. That is God's power to us, Emmanuel, God with us. It is the very gift that he has given us and restored to humanity by coming in human form and dying on the cross. And so it can be, again, something we don't celebrate often enough as part of the gift we bring in coaching, and something we don't offer to our clients because we're in a rush for answers or to get somewhere. But I'm hoping this conversation is just acknowledging the good work that all you coaches who are listening are already doing, that maybe doesn't look powerful or forward moving, but it's a deepening. And that will bring your clients further faster than any quick drive to action ever would.
Underscore that last little piece there. It'll bring them to that space faster than anything else would. It's not that we don't need all the skills that we always train in as coaches. And it's not that we won't use the various tools that we bring, assessments and inventories and use of metaphor and all that. Yeah, absolutely. Those are the tools of our craft, as it were. But all of it ultimately is tools in the hands of the master, the Lord, he was fully present, and us as trying to become masters at this, being fully present so that he can work much more fluidly, much more naturally there. I'm going to pull us back one more time to Benner's book here, Practice and Encounter. And he suggests what he calls 3 laws of presence. And this is maybe a good little takeaway. You can jot them down if you want to. Number 1 law, he says, presence to anything starts with presence to self. We've talked in the podcast before, Kim, about just the Christian walk of intimacy with the Father. God desires so deeply to be intimate with us, but we're trying to be intimate with someone that we can't see. We can't hear him. We can't touch him, right? But we always say, well, then you back that down. Are you intimate with other people in your lives? You can see them. You can talk to them. You can hear them. Are you experiencing intimacy? Well, another way to put that is, are you fully present with them? And many times our answer is, no, I'm really not. I'm very, very distracted. I'm doing a lot of, looking at my phone, checking the text there, halfway responding. Oh, I'm a multitasker. No, you're not. We know that you can't be. There's no such thing as multitasking. It's just bursting our energies and attentions one place after the other. But then the question becomes, well, are you even then intimate or fully present with yourself? If you're trying to be intimate with God, who you can't see or touch or hear, and you're not really very intimate or present with others, are you intimate with yourself? And our answer again is oftentimes, no, I'm really not. I'm on autopilot. I'm in performance mode. I'm living by the dictates of the urgency, right? The things that are screaming at me on my to-do list. Well, their coach is our challenge for all of us. We want to know what to do practically. Take it down to the smallest point. You with self before you get on that call, and then you with that client, and you in your own spiritual disciplines, then being very aware that every moment is sacred. God is present, and he wants to flow through that relationship where we're trying so hard to co-create with that client. So that's the number 1 point there. I'll just put these other 2 laws out there, if you would. The first one, again, was presence to anything starts with presence to self. Number 2, he says then, presence to anything is constrained by presence to everything. In other words, what gets in the way? Everything else. The old saying, if you chase 2 rabbits, you lose them both. We have to focus. We have to, when the session is ready to begin, we got to push aside everything else that is in fact calling and be just fully present in that moment with that client. So again, point number 2 was presence to anything is constrained by presence to everything. We just can't be. You got to zero in. And number 3 law, he says, then is presence to anything is a threshold to the transcendent. When we open that door of us being as fully present as, then God is much more free to walk through that door and do what only he can do anyway. That's not our great coaching skills then at that point. That's God doing what only he can. But we fostered it, facilitated it, enabled it, or we didn't. We got in the way of it. We missed it, right?
Yeah.
It's the threshold to the transcendent. What concept?
So as we walk away from this conversation today, Chris, so many things are bubbling up for me, but I think a lot of it is just invitational. Where can I grow in practicing the presence of God, presence to myself, and presence to others? And if I even just took one tiny step in each of those areas, I would feel like that would be a good movement in the right direction towards bringing the gift of presence to the people I care about in my life.
Kim, I know you have some resources, 50 specific things that we can practice as Christian coaches, right, to foster the presence of God. You want to share those?
It is. This is probably many years ago, though. I thought that practice the presence of God. Maybe some of you have read the book by Brother Lawrence, who made that his life's work is to notice God in every moment. And I thought, yeah, I am so not there, and I need practical, granular, specific ways. And so I made a list of 50 plus just micro practices that we can engage in to be more aware of the God who's always aware of us. And so that's available, of course, for free at kimaverycoaching.com/free, kimaverycoaching.com/free. And then in addition to that, Chris, I would just invite the people who are listening to consider taking one of our basic foundational classes or advanced classes here at the Professional Christian Coaching Institute. Almost everything I've learned about presence in my own life, presence to God, and presence to other people came as a result of professional grade coach training. And I'm so thankful for the school in that we provide this. I think about the coaching skills development class, this coaching skills mastery class, and how we just work with each other to attune to what people are saying and what they're bringing and how they're feeling and their micro expressions and the whole 9 yards. And it's just a gift. It's a gift you give yourself that then gives out to the world. And so you can get more information at professionalchristiancoaching.com. And if you would like to speak to a human being, we have amazing academic advisors who don't sell, but are present to your questions. And so there's going to be a button on the website, and that may be a good way for you to go as well.
Good words, Kim. I would wholeheartedly agree with you. So much of what I've learned about all of this stuff has been through coach training. It's made me a better coach, but it's made me a better man, a better husband, a better father, a better leader, a better brother, a better, just all the different roles that we play in life, because it is so much about our way of being. Our doing flows from our way of being, and the best of coaching is that ontological exploration of self, of being, that's continually, hopefully throughout life, growing and evolving into more of Him. So again, if you're interested in any of the training that we offer here, of course, the Professional Christian Coaching Institute's website is professionalchristiancoaching.com. Easy URL to remember. And we would be delighted to talk with you there through one of our academic advisors. Gang, with that, we'll wrap up this discussion, a conversation about presence and the power of it. And we just invite you to say with us, keep raising the standard of coaching and changing the world.
God's richest blessings to you.